Hey, my friend,
How are you?
I am exhausted, but it's a good thing. It's just I got so much going on.
I know. Well, you'll be more exhausted after this
I,
evening.
I am sitting. I'm in the choir room right now, sitting at the director's. I'm sitting at her little desk area. Um,
Now it says you're recording.
okay. It says I'm recording. Okay, let me do this.
It came
Um,
on. I didn't touch anything and it came on. So I assume
okay,
you
let
are.
me do this. Let me do this. Okay. 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 Shares. Let me go to participants. Okay.
But it looks like I can pause it and stop it.
Okay. Okay. Well, you should, and it's saying that I'm recording it.
Well, it popped up recording and I didn't touch anything.
Okay. Okay. Pause. See if it'll let you pause.
We are recording.
Okay. Okay. Hey, guys. Welcome. I always enjoy these few minutes that I can talk to some of you before we get started. But I hope you're having a good week. I know it's been a busy week, stressful for many of you. I understand that, but honestly, you you're in the short rows after this. You've got the hardest over with. The other, I mean, you've got to take your time and do it, but you know what to do with the rest of it that we're going to talk about tonight. Um, I want to go ahead and tell you up front, Dr. Revis is going to handle the class after a certain time. I'm going to be a star this weekend. No, we're doing our Easter production. I'm actually at church right now in the choir room, and at some point she's going to to take over, and then I'm going to go on, and so I can can do what I need to do. So I'll be prepared on Friday night whenever we do our big productions, first night of it. But anyway, um, many of you are maybe you've already had spring break because different places do differently, but most of you will end up having spring break starting next week because most places, it ends with Good Friday this week and then it goes into next week. So, you know, um, you can't stop working, but get some rest on top of that as well, if that is the case for you. Um, but I want to say overall, task three, I was highly pleased with task three. Dr. Revis, for the most part, I didn't have a lot to send back. And even the ones that sent back, the work that they did was was quality work. It just wasn't complete. So it was, the work that they did had they used their time a little more wisely and, focused. I think it would have been, I think all of that work would have been fine as well. So, if you were one of those that I had to send back, you need to do a fast turnaround on what it is that you need to send to me. I've already cleared several of you. Um, to go ahead and put task three into the Aptil assignment Dropbox, and which is a good thing. I don't know that I've ever been able to do as many at this point as I was able to do this time. So they have followed directions, and again, um, Dr. Revis, most of them had already done their presentations with the school improvement team, with their principal, has have their live recording in there, embedded in there, and really did a great job with that. Yeah, I didn't have to just pull and beg and plead with this. It was done. So, I say a job well done, and I'm very very pleased with that. Um, Tonight, Dr. Revis is going to go over task four with you. Task four, again, is going to be the remaining 9 competencies. Nothing has changed from the APSL. You're just focusing on the APTEL this time. And she's going to talk about that. And then she's going to go over your requirements for case study 2 for the APTEL. And I guess Dr. Revis, if there's any questions they have about the competency folio or anything like that, that can be addressed at that time. If you have any questions of me after class tonight, send me an email and I will reach out to you if you have any questions that I need to answer, since I will be signing off and Dr. Revis will be handling this. Please keep, she's not online tonight, but please keep Macy in your prayers. Macy had to have back surgery. And so she's going to be out of, there she is. Hey, Macy. Macy,
Hey.
are you doing a lot better?
Yes, sir. I'm doing really well.
She's gonna be out of commission for about 6 weeks, but she was at a good place and she'll be able to finish out, and do. We've got a plan in place for her to be able to finish out with everything. So Macy, I'm sorry. I'm glad to see you're on with us tonight. But with that in mind, Dr. Revis, I'm just going to turn it over to you, and then I'm just going to go sing and act, if that's okay with y'all.
That is great. Break a leg, okay?
Okay. Thank y'all. Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right, I'm going to share my screen. And I first want to look at our agenda for tonight. Can you see the agenda? Okay. We are going to first talk about task 4 and make sure that there's no questions on that, because you have to get for week 12 by Sunday evening. You have to be complete with your task 3, all revisions, everything ready to go for his final review by 6 p.m. on the 20. This says the 28th. That's Thursday. I'm sorry. But it's really due on Sunday evening. But task 4 is a little different. If you recall, there are no peer reviews for this. And you have to submit for instructor review by Thursday, by this Thursday, 3/28, for review. And that gives him time to look at it and say you're ready to submit for final evaluation or final review, or maybe you need to tweak it a little bit. So I want to talk about task 4, and those are the 2 assignments that are due no later than Sunday evening at 6 p.m. Any questions on what is due Sunday? All right. We're also going to talk about the case study, but that's not due until week 13. But you also have to be ready to submit all of your APTEL that week too. So I want to go ahead, in case you might want to have your meeting together, your virtual meeting together on the case study this week. I want to go ahead and share that with you. So let me go and let's look at our helpful hints. And of course, you have 9 competencies left that you have not responded to. And you did it the same way you did it in task 5 of the APSL. You have to reflect for each competency, you have to reflect on something from your APTL. And you need to say, I like for the first sentence to be during my work on the APTL, so on and so forth. And then the next paragraph, during my clinical experiences. Now, Dr. Stedman said a few of you got marked down in task 4, and I'm not really sure because I didn't review them, but let me just key you in on something here. We allow you, remember this, we allow you to count hours out of the APTEL for clinical, but when you're writing this clinical, it needs to truly come from clinical, from something you did in your school outside of the APTEL work. I don't know if that had an impact, but the evaluators are going to be looking for in my clinical experiences and what you did in your true clinical experiences outside of the APTEL. So this person decided to organize a school-wide career day. And so she co-chaired it and she talks about that. All right. And this person, the next one they did was emotional intelligence. They do a little lead-in sentence. You don't need to do that. You just need to go to during my work on the APTEL, so on and so forth. And then the second paragraph, during my clinical. Okay. During my APTEL, during my clinical. Now, this person actually put in there that they did some gaps. I wouldn't do that. Because where does that come through it from? You can clearly see that comes from your APTEL work, right? So pull on some of those other experiences that you have done from your clinicals. Any questions on those? And who can tell me when this is due for his review, first review? Just unmute yourself and tell me.
Thursday.
Thursday the 28th. Okay. Any questions? I cannot see everybody on my screen, so if you have a question, just unmute yourself and you can ask. Okay. So let's look at now your case study. As a reminder, your case study materials are over on the side right here. Same place your first case study. And so in your groups, this is your last time that you're going to be doing a Zoom with these groups this semester. So if you have more than 4 members in your group, then 2 of you need to co-host or co-lead the case study Zoom meeting. All right. So let's review the directions. All right. So you have to prepare for your case study. And remember, this is considered to be a scholarly discussion. So it's not your opinion. Well, let me say this. You don't just give your opinions. You have to back those up with some research. So remember, this is connected to your APTEL work. So this is going to be about teacher empowerment and leadership. Okay? Teacher empowerment and leadership. So when you're preparing for the case study, think of all the research that you did in those areas of teacher empowerment and leadership. You've got a lot of resources there from which you can use to support your opinions. You have your texts, and you also have multiple things in your course shell, multiple readings that you can also pull from. So you would always want to, when you come online and you're discussing something, you're always going to say, well, according to Ubben, I think da 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 da, or I agree with Ubben, or I agree with Whitaker when he says yada yada yada, whatever. Always cite your authors and your research when you're giving your opinion about what you would do in this scenario. So you prepare, everybody prepares individually for their case study, And then your Zoom master prepares an agenda, sends out the link, and records the case study. Your Zoom master or masters will also decide how we're going to share our findings from the case study or what we would do. And there are 4 questions that you have to do. So then don't forget what you turn in is a 1-page, 2-part reflective summary of the case study and of the case study Zoom session. So when you're writing your half page on your case study, you want to just do an overview of the relevant points. Don't retell it, but just the main points. And to go even further, you're synthesizing that case study into the main points. And then furthermore, you discuss about the Zoom session. It's not about your opinions. You're going to share your opinions, but you're going to talk about some reflective summary of your Zoom session. Maybe within your group, somebody brought in a different perspective than what you had thought about, and you would want to talk about that. My mind was really opened, or I thought in a different way when Michelle brought up this particular point. Because you're answering your questions on the Zoom. So let's look at what that looks like. The case study itself. And right here's where you're going to put that 1-pager. Okay, I'm in case studies, and there's your Dropbox. So let's look at case study 2. Again, it reminds you that it is aligned to the APTL. So you can think about, okay, this case study is about teacher empowerment and leadership. Now, I'm not going to go through it or read through it. You can do that, but that's your case study. And then here are your questions. Excuse me, there are only 3. Those are the questions you need to be prepared for before you do your Zoom session. Again, support your ideas, support your thoughts, your opinions with your research. Questions about that? This is not due until week 13, the end of week 13. All right. So in 17 minutes, we have finished everything that we're going to talk about tonight, unless you have some questions about your competency folio and your internship log. Any questions on those? Michelle, reiterate your question or bring back up your question that you asked me at the beginning as people were getting on.
Okay, my question originally was because when I was looking through my competencies, like there was I think it's like the first 3 competencies. It can either go for the APSL or the APTEL. And I had submitted things for the APSL on those, but I was wondering if I needed to submit something for the APTEL also, since that was one of the categories, because it said APSL, APTEL, and open-ended. So I wanted to make sure that I had those covered in all 3 areas.
And what was the response I gave you? I'm going to make you teach.
Only do the 9 competencies that I hadn't done already.
Yeah, every semester you're going to have to submit an artifact for all 21 competencies. So don't put 2 competencies in. Don't put 2 artifacts in for the same competency this semester. you've got to cover all of the remaining 9. But I would do that soon as possible next semester. Save your work so that you'll know what artifacts go with that, but do the ones that are missing. Okay.
So my question about that is though, since it lists the APSL and the APTEL and the open-ended, will it be readdressed? I mean, other than open-ended, that's,
Well, Michelle,
can you do
from
it
here
more than
on,
once?
yeah, from here on out, they give you some leeway in those competencies. So
Okay,
they just say, oh, you can only do one for the skip or the SIOP or the OMA. So they'll give you some leeway, but they're going to want to see a new artifact for each competency each semester. Okay. Any other questions on that? Okay, so one more time before we end, and I'll let you out of here early. And don't tell Dr. Stedman on me that I let you out at 7:20. For this week, you've got to finish up your task 3, get it ready for your final evaluation, and your task 4, you have to turn it in for review by Thursday, and final submission on Sunday at 6 p.m. No peer reviews, excuse me. And then week 13, you've got your case study, but also in week 13, you are going to be getting together all those 4 tasks of the APTEL and putting it all in one document, doing all that work so that you can get it ready to submit, to turn it, you submit it to him to look over and then to turn it in. And this takes a minute to do. So just pace yourself a little bit. So if there's no questions, I enjoyed working with you tonight. It was a great class, and you are almost there, guys. So
Dr.
if you have,
Revis, can I
yes,
ask a question? On this agenda for next week, we do not have class, correct?
I don't know, Leanne. Let me
Okay.
see what did that agenda say?
Not that one, but the next week's if you click on next week, it says no Zoom class to finish up everything and to get the case study.
That is probably correct, Leanne. That is probably correct. I know that we usually give you time at the end to do that. But I will have him send out a clarifying email about that, okay? All right, guys. Have a good evening, and you're almost there. Good night.
Dr. Revis, I have a question for you real quick, if you've got a second.
Okay, sure.
So on my clinical, I've been helping with, or not helping, I did a class on significant cognitive delays or development. And it was an all-day class, but I have to take back some of the information to my team members. Can I count that on my clinical?
You can count, definitely, Heather, you can count when you're bringing it back and representing information. Definitely. You can probably count you can say it was a full day, but you can probably count a couple hours of that day just
Okay.
because you hear something for 6 hours, but then you've got to synthesize it
Mhm.
and put it together. You're doing some organization and planning to put together something to represent. So you sure could count at least a couple hours for being there, hearing it, analyzing, synthesizing, and then whatever time you reshared. Okay.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure. I was like, that's a new one. I was like, wanted to make sure I had all my ducks covered on that one.
Okay.
But I
You are a
appreciate
good
it. Thank you
student.
very much.
All right. Good night, guys.